Welcome back to Prince of Persia 2008.
Was that that shot looked like straight out of What's Opera, Doc? Like
I know. Right? Da, 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 da.
Anyway, time to finish the Concubine.
Why am I worried about Theo falling off? She'll just say what's her name will just save the day anyway.
But then he'll have to start from the beginning. Oh, shock!
But Dwibs, don't you just love feeling like you're completely unendangered in a video game? Don't you just love?
At least it's not like. Could you imagine if this were like Cybermorph, where you just get picked off right where you're at?
I guess if I'm going to be totally fair, it's still better than Beyond Two Souls, but not by much.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
David Cage, I've been playing.
But Beyond Two Souls still kills has scenarios where Jodie can fail. Granted, you really have to try it.
But she never dies too, though.
Yeah, like okay.
You never get it. I think I was sure there are at least one or two games.
There's a bad ending where she does die, but it's only at the end, though.
Yeah, speaking of David Cage, I've been playing Detroit recently because I got it for the PS Plus.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Which also came with Heavy Rain. It's so far. Well, I think I played through a bit that I don't think either Shiroy or Pedro did in their in their LPs. I did a bit. Basically, I was with
Go ahead.
It was with Kara and the little girl. What's her name?
Alice.
And Alice. And the other bit we have to choose where you want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Oh, let me guess. You stole money.
No, I chose the wrecked house.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna pick the car, but Alice said she didn't like it, so I went.
Is this
wrecked
important?
house instead.
Well, like I said, every dialogue technically can be important, but.
And I had to deal with Dr. Insano's cousin.
But gotta love how at this point the prince is not even caring anymore about being ambushed.
I mean,
we're gonna get ambushed anyway.
It's not like it matters. You can just save me.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you guys see what I meant at the.
Yes.
Sorry, Joe.
I see it, and now it's all within my reach. But that's the thing too. Like, see the story, the writing, even taking the writing on at face value, the writing is just so uninteresting as well. It's really hard.
Not this shit again.
Oh hey, it's you.
Oh my god, I am so tired. Can this bitch just die?
How many times have we seen this person now?
Technically 4 previously, and after this was the last encounter.
How many more times do I have to kill you before you stay dead?
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson?
They're like a cockroach.
I mean, again, maybe if they were more endearing, they'd be more engaging, but this one just comes off as kind of annoying.
She has the body of a rat, so she's kind of a pest.
So what? They're trying to titillate us. So what? They're trying to titillate us with a rat.
Quick, cut her legs and use them on you.
What?
Hermes too.
Oh right. Well, it's not the legs of Pedro.
I know, but might as well.
It's the magic boots.
Oh no! Ooh,
because Raymond 2 did it, so it's Ubisoft, so let's do this.
It's not like the boots in SpongeBob, is it? Where where they have the power to be annoying.
Oh, those.
Yeah, and a bit where Mr. Krabs says, it's not the boots, it's the booty.
Oh, there you go, C2, look at that, you're climbing walls, just like in the original Prince of Persia.
Yay!
I could have done that from the beginning, but...
Okay.
No, but this particular part of the level design feels a lot like the typical room you'd find in the original game, that's what I'm saying.
I suppose.
It's weird that we haven't gotten those, and again, I get it, reboot, but it doesn't feel like it's been as fun or as engaging as the past games. Again, I'm not trying to knock this game down whenever I can, it's just, this game feels, oh, she's just standing there.
Okay.
That was weird.
And basically, this is just your excuse for now having to get back to the fertile ground.
Goody.
So are they just trying to spook us or something? Like, was that an illusion of her?
Was that a glitch?
No, no, no.
Oh no, now you're down there. You're not.
I'm up here and you're down there.
We can't have that now, can we?
Look at that. I was over here, and now I'm over there. Didn't see that coming, did you?
That those flies are supposed to be a new, not injuring, but annoyance mechanic in a sense that if you stay too much on a platform or on a pole, they'll basically knock you down. Basically, impeding your progress if you're doing on a streak of platforming session.
For a moment there,
Again,
sorry.
It's not a thing that kills you, but instead something that annoys you. Combine this with the previous present traps, and you can imagine how annoying the whole thing is.
You know, if this game was cooler, they would have worked like the flies in Constantine, where they eat you from the inside.
Oh god, imagine that.
But no, that might actually be cool and dangerous. We can't have that.
It just really boggles the mind, though. Why remove every sense of challenge from a game? Because
I haven't checked yet what is the story of the playtesting of this game, because I strongly believe it all is centered around that.
That's the thing.
Okay, reboots are supposed to be beginner friendly. Not so in the sense that they're always easy, but in the sense that it's easy to get on. Here's the thing, though. This isn't even beginner friendly because there still is all this incredibly elaborate stuff that you have to master just right to get through. So it's not like an excuse. It's like, again, all you did was just make death mean nothing. I get it. Sometimes game overs and whatnot can be a bit old-fashioned in certain games, but not games like this. There needs to be a certain sense of challenge, especially, again, like I said earlier, it feels like because death has no meaning, they took that as an excuse to make things as BS as possible and say, oh, well, you technically won't die, so it's fair.
I wouldn't even mind the lack of challenge if the game at the very least had other elements to compensate for it. But the writing is mediocre and doesn't really do a good job in getting us invested in the two characters. And consider the only two characters you spend with like what 90% of the game, that doesn't help. Even taking aside the lack of challenge part, the gameplay mechanics themselves don't look to be all that impressive. I might as well be playing the previous games, you know. There doesn't seem to be anything here that's like incredibly that stands out as really unique or like game changing.
All right, I forgot to mention because this particular general also, as you can see it, has a special moves on her own. Similar to Sonya Blade's Kiss of Death, this one doesn't kill you, but does Shiro's favorite mechanic, reversing your controls.
Oh, goody!
Oh, wow, what's even the point? Like, it's not like...
To annoy you, again.
To piss me off.
The entire challenge is in how much the CPU can annoy you.
Yeah, like that's it. I mean, with death having no meaning, it's not so much a fight against death. It's more just a test of whether or not it'll annoy you enough to put down the control.
But guys,
you said
you wanted challenge.
At least that's the thing, Dwebs. Reversing your controls is not challenge, it's just annoying. There's a difference between annoying the player and challenging the player.
Not only that, but again, even if you die, you'll be back, so there's not even challenge there. Again, victory is pretty much an
Jesus, so much
at least at least in Inokuni 2, when you get confused, you can just go into the item menu and use the confuse be gone to deal with it. And even then, even if you don't use it, the confusion only lasts like a few seconds anyway. So whatever.
How does the confusion in this game work? Let's just call it that.
No. The confusion that I'm talking about is a status effect.
Pedro, Joey is talking to me. No, it's not. It's not that long, thankfully.
Oh, okay.
Plot twist in the Inokuni 3. The confuse will last for like 30 seconds.
That in itself doesn't really mean anything. It's what it's entire around it.
Okay, can I talk about another issue I have with the general here? It's like, well, they're supposed to be escalating, they don't always really feel like they're escalating. Like, this is, I believe, the final...
Semi-final. This is the 4th fertile ground, which means that after this, her own stronghold is unlocked.
Fair. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. It's like, well, it feels like these sites don't always have that much escalation. Like, well, it just feels like you're fighting them again, as opposed to it feeling like an escalating challenger fight. Again,
the only thing with the things that change for the fights in order to make them more difficult are the barriers they put up, the frequency that they do, and their own personal special attacks. So the hunter has that blinding move, the alchemist has the poison, she has that reverse control thingy, and the warrior, the fights themselves with the warriors are the more puzzle-like, because you cannot damage him until you actually push him off a cliff or something.
Oh god, I swear this game freezes so often that I keep thinking that my video stopped playing.
That's the thing. I checked again the previous fights just to be sure. It seems to be a thing that only happened with the Concubine.
I guess I guess the effects on her body take longer to load. I'm really
cutscenes, I guess.
I'm really stretching right now.
For reference, I forgot if I told specifically. For reference, this is the only Prince of Persia game that I actually own on disc, not on digital. We also have with the autosave. This is it's not entirely digital, so unlike in Forgotten Sands HD, it doesn't lag every time it all saves.
I can see it happen.
Does this game not have a digital version?
It has. I just found the disc first.
I can see it being a PS3 only issue, because if the game was developed with the Xbox 360 as its lead platform, I can definitely see it being a problem, because the game was made with the 360 in mind, and as a result, since the 360's Blu-ray loader is slower than the 360's DVD reader, it will cause these pauses. I can definitely see that being the cause.
Almost done.
There are a lot of most multiplats of this time did at the very least account take the PS3 into account and did some extra coding for those versions, but there were a few that didn't, and I can see. And considering this game seems to be made by a group of developers that seem very amateurish, I can definitely see that being a problem.
Remind me again about the company behind this game, Tio. Were they newbies or were they veterans?
I think it was Ubisoft Montreal. Let me check just to be sure.
Ubisoft Montreal aren't exactly slouches.
Was this game made in Michel Ancel's basement?
No. Michel Ancel had nothing to do with this. It was done by Ubisoft Montreal. I already mentioned this, but we used the Scimitar engine, which was the one used for the first Assassin's Creed.
Remind me, was this game made when they were starting out? Because the seals,
Ubisoft Montreal's starting game was technically Tonic Trouble.
How long ago was that?
Well, not really. We did like 4 games before that, but I don't remember if they were tied to Ubisoft as well.
What? Okay.
Mind games.
I know, but what does that even mean?
I think she's saying that Elika has doomed this pretty...
Oh, okay. Plot twist. Elika is the big bad guy all along.
Totally, guys. For giving context, the Scimitar engine, which now is being renamed Anvil Next, is being used still to this day with the Assassin's Creed games, and we're using it also for other side projects like For Honor, the new Ghost Recon, or Skull and Bones.
Hey, Jova, what's that? Oh, sorry.
The Concubine too.
No, not again.
Okay, that was an awkward transition between dialogue bits.
Hey, Jova, what was that? The main song from Tron Central Park, Positively Green,
absolutely.
That's it, absolutely green. That's what I keep thinking every time she does that.
I know, right? Tio,
Yes.
In terms of games like this, was this Montreal's... Okay, this is... I guess this game feels weird for a game of Montreal... Ubisoft Montreal's pedigree.
Not really. They
I'm talking about the quality.
Well, when you think about it, Jova, outside of the HUD and the fact that you're just fighting one enemy at a time, the combat system is not too dissimilar from the first Assassin's Creed, which they developed the previous year.
Oh, I get that. What I'm talking about is how lax this is, though, compared to even the first Assassin's Creed game. Like, well, even the first Assassin's Creed game had
like
more
I said,
moves.
they wanted to experiment with some things and see what sticked out.
So I guess we could just chalk this up to an experiment that didn't fare so well, which is
Pretty
a shame
much.
because Prince of Persia may have had to die because, no, technically Forgotten Sands was the shot in the arm that failed to be the shot in the arm. But even still, though, you can't say that this game is free of blame here, because if there's one thing this game did, it was
remember, Jova, the entire reason why Ubisoft went back to the Sand Saga right after this was precisely because this was pretty much a disaster.
The problem
it's
is that
it's bizarre as to how, like, 2.5 million copies is a disaster. But
Wibs, we've already
discussed this, Wibs.
I meant from the perspective of Ubisoft.
Well,
Yes.
we discussed that before. That's how big companies tend to use, even when technically
Especially
shouldn't
for
be
that
considered a
time
failure.
period, Wibs.
Is it because like next gen was just relative? Well, last gen now, but this particular generation was relatively new.
Let me put it like this.
Also, sale inflation, Wibs. We had arrived to a point where games were selling like a lot, thanks also to the PS2 era. So companies were keeping predicting a bubble effect, in a sense that it would grow and grow without stopping. But of course, it didn't eventually. It's more of a thing that expands and contracts constantly.
Think
They
about it like this.
overestimated themselves and now they're greedy.
Pretty much. Basically, James, here's the thing. With the beginning of something like what people call the AAA video game department, a lot of companies started to get greedy. Like, okay, yes, they took the fact that they got high sales for granted. Like, yes, a lot of people were buying their games. What they failed to realize was that people bought their games because they made them to be fun from the get-go. The problem was when they started making them just for money.
I forgot if I told this specific detail to you, Dwebs, but I did mention Devil May Cry 4 in a previous part. Basically, aside of the quality of the game, Capcom was expecting the game to sell at least 4 million copies, and yet it did like halfway through 2.2 million, similar to this game, which is like you yourself said in itself is not a bad thing. But it wasn't meeting the expectation. Unfortunately, that was the problem, which led also to the reboot. Anyway, this being the last struggle against the Concubine, she's going full out with illusions, and once we reach the top of it for her final match, she will do something that actually
Back.
I would say it ties decently enough with the gameplay formula, but I will let you see for yourself later.
Oh, isn't that cute? She's trying to seduce the prince. Sorry, honey, you may look cute in that outfit. Actually, no, you don't, but you have a flipping rat tail that kind of gives away the fact that you're a rodent, and I don't do bestiality. You're not a trophy girl, that's for sure.
Oh, look, I wonder if Teo is going to win this.
Well, it's more of a question when, I guess.
Very good, Teo. You just that's exactly the joke.
It's still a problem, though.
She's a rat, so she should be your favorite, I guess.
Jova, I already discussed this, and as mentioned in Ni no Kuni 2, I decide to use my right to remain silent on the subject matter.
Fair enough. So, on that note, though, a lot of the Crash fan bases realize they're inner furries ever since the recent additions to the roster.
Hey, Jova.
Yes.
About what you said earlier, I was going to say it, but I was cold. Wonder what the terms of Devil May Cry 5 is now, a reboot?
Not necessarily, Dwebs. Remember,
much more simple than that, Dwebs. It's a sequel to 4.
Yeah, not just that. It's not too dissimilar to what Forgotten Sands is for this franchise.
It's the sequel to a long-lost franchise. The difference is that, unlike Forgotten Sands, DMC5 was quite a shot in the arm, alright, for the franchise.
That sold pretty well, didn't it?
It did, not to mention critical acclaim as well, so it was a unanimous positive thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. And sometimes when you measure if you only get one or the other, like if you only either get critical success or you just get commercial success, it's really tricky to figure out where to go from there. If you have a game that's highly acclaimed but no one bought,
it's a combination of different things, Dweebs, and also, like I said, it also depends on the elements of the company, the developer team, the IRFs, and sadly, the investors. The investors tend to be a huge part.
He might have your heart, but I will have
Your soul is
So,
not worried.
So, question, Concubine. You've been trying to kill him up until this point. Why should he fall for your feminine wiles, even if you are cute? Like, you've been trying to kill him this entire time. Like, maybe you should have opened up with trying to seduce him first before trying to kill him. Just saying.
I don't even understand her kinks at all. Like,
well, Pedro, how are we to judge, I guess?
To quote Titanic, I think you're arguing the fact that she is a rodent and he is a human.
Well, the Java, there's one thing I'm not, and that's a racist.
oh yeah, that thing.
It's insane how quotable that stupid movie.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Joe. It's more quotable than the other anime, Titanic.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's the thing. There's two different companies, and I would argue this with MonoTV. As much as it's batshit insane, MonoTV has a degree of not taking itself too seriously.
I haven't quite finished yet.
But the other one done by Camillo Tetti kind of takes itself way too seriously for its own good. But go on.
Despite the fact that it has a rapping dog.
Hold on, yes, please.
I was gonna say the only thing memorable from the other one was the rapping dog.
It's party time. Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
that and all the Disney ripoffs, but yeah.
The poorly lip sync rapping dog.
Oh god, yeah.
Well,
it wasn't just the song that was shitty. The lip syncing of that.
I forgot if I told you, but in case you didn't notice, that adaptation was super cheap in making, especially because similar to the Good Times adaptations of things, it was like a bunch of different animators doing each their own portions of the product.
That explains
the end result is a pastiche.
Oh no, Elika's knocked out again!
What's the point? You probably just get up for the will of...
No, like I said, you can just get close to her and she gets up immediately.
I mean, again, that's a problem with this game, Cycle. It feels like any sense of suspense there is, this game immediately squashes out. It's like, how did you do that? That
again, just like Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah.
Maybe this is David Cage's favorite video game, not...
Yeah, Elika's basically the idol of this game. That's basically what she is.
Oh my god. Maybe this game is where he got a lot of his inspirations for Beyond Two Souls. I mean, they're both French developers, so of course he probably would respect the
in this case it was French-Canadian.
Punch.
What about the... Well, actually, I forgot if you guys have expressed opinions yet. What about the score? What do you think?
I can't talk about it because I can't really hear it now.
Do you think it's neck tier level cookie cutted?
No. Let me put it like this. It's your typical cinematic score. It's fine, but not memorable.
Like, it's similar, I think, to... God, I forgot which specific game we used for comparison, but whatever. Probably something that is better enjoyable if you're just listening on your own on iTunes or whatever you use.
I call it, serviceable, I think is the right word for it.
Yeah.
That's still kind of a problem, though, because the composer are Stuart Chatwood and Einon Zur, not exactly the first two guys passing by. I mean, Stuart Chatwood has composed until this point for the Prince of Persia series. And I am Zur has a reputation of doing also movies.
That's the thing too. I mean, the composers of Sonic Forces also composed brilliant music in previous Sonic games. Like sometimes the game just doesn't give a composer a lot to work with. That's just how the sad state of things sometimes.
I suppose.
So we can warn everyone he's about to get out.
Right, yeah. Genre savvy.
Isn't that compelling?
I mean, it's nice, but honestly, when you get down to it, there's not much character.
Here's the thing. Unlike, I speak this personally, mind you. What makes the genre savvy of the Prince kind of out there is because also the setting and the fact that we don't know much about the Prince. The Prince having this particular attitude in a sense of being very genre savvy like that comes off very alienating, and it clashes a bit with the tone. If this will say maybe Elika, because she's been imbued by literally the power of a god, so you think, oh, maybe that gives her more wisdom. But the prince is a literal who was running around with a donkey in a fucking desert.
My guess too.
And now he's pretending to know cliches work. Hold on, actually, anyway, time for the payoff to what he said.
Oh boy,
so now that she's cornered everything, there you go. Ultimate illusion. Which Elika is the real one?
The one
No
that
one
heals
likes
us.
this.
Oh
Actually,
boy,
okay. I'm not saying anything. What do you think is the solution to this test? How do you discover the real Elika?
I know this one. We have to ask them a question where the real one would answer differently.
Sorry, no.
Oh.
Just turn your back and let us heal this place.
Oh,
Jova,
we just
do you have an idea?
just check each one randomly.
Shire? You have seen the solution before, and I can tell you that. There you go. You just need to jump off a cliff, and the real Elika will save you.
Oh my god, so I was right when I first said just wait for the real one to save us.
So basically, Teo, we're operating on Kingdom Hearts logic. I'll just commit suicide. Whee! There you go.
I mean, for the mechanics of the game, this is kind of ingenious, but it's like one time only.
That's the one.
That is genius, and it's not the one-time only thing that bothers me. It's the fact that this mechanic serves no purpose otherwise.
You know, what if it were like in full Ragnarok, where if you jumped off at like the wrong time or something, you just see him face plant onto the ground.
I'm just baffled by the fact that my first guess, which was more of a joke, was actually the one that was it. But you know, I'll give them this. That's actually kind of clever, seeing as how you'll probably have died a lot of times anyway, and Elika will save you. So it's not like that's impossible.
To answer your question, my guess is the writer is just trying to come across as witty and self-aware. Look how clever I am.
That would be nice, but it requires a bit of context before. Like, if this, like I said, if this was Elika, which literally can have an in-universe justification of being more wise to actually be genre savvy, I can see that. But again, the prince doesn't really have a background that could justify this kind of. You can say, oh, he's a rogue who has wandered all over the world, so therefore he knows how things work like that. Yes, I guess, but we don't know much about this past. For all we know, he's just lying, and he has escaped his house 2 weeks ago. So
I think I know a good way to put it. It's like, well, let's compare him to the prince in like stuff like Forgotten Sands or The Two Thrones. In there, the prince, who we knew a lot more about, was genre savvy, not just because he was genre savvy, but because he'd been through similar cases.
Not to mention Jova,
so it made sense that he was more genre savvy, and in a way, it kind of made it more engaging because, you know, it did it without breaking the story. Whereas
not to mention Jova, he didn't start it like that in Sense of Time. In Sense of Time, he was an arrogant prick who thought high of himself, and Fair was specifically there to actually tell him, no, that's not how it works.
So
anyway,
Jova, sorry.
Time for the exorcism.
Please don't flash your gun at me.
Yeah, sure you didn't.
Of course you had a choice. You could not do it.
What?
Hi.
So what, is she absorbing her or something?
No, she's just been purified.
And she exploded.
You shall be purified.
Oh, so it's like in Metal
Wait.
Gear, and when you kill the boss explodes?
You're right. Let's get out of here.
Kinda. But
Oh,
no,
and
Trevero,
let's-
we compared this to previously to the right that Yuna does, the far plane.
Palace, like you've been saying.
Yeah, of course. Redecorate the palace and all that.
She's gone. You're stuck with me.
Anyway, the praise is coming, so time to get back.
Let's get out of here.
Run.
So Jova, despite how when it comes to the whole thing about breaking the story, like, so I guess of all the ones that we've seen, Aaron's comment in the Evil Goddess Shroud about you're breaking the dramatic tension is still the worst, would you say?
Okay.
No.
Nah, that's actually not the worst. I'd say that. In
First
terms
of all, at that point, the characters have reached, a considerable amount of time spending together and having to do different things. And second, Erin is like a fairy, therefore a more magical being. Yes, she's ditzy, to say, more decent terms, because I should be more vulgar. But I can believe that she can have a moment where she's like, don't break the tension like that.
It also that Fairy Friendship have had that kind of tone going for it from the get-go. Not so much with this game. Again, this is technically... I mean, yeah, the characters are technically better here, but they're only better by virtue that we know so little about them in comparison.
Not to mention, it doesn't need it, honestly. Like, I can see this happen in a more elaborate story with much more characters, like in an RPG, like say. But this is a platformer where two major characters interact with only a few selected enemy types, like that, which only a couple of them actually talk. So this thing like that doesn't really need to happen. It's unrequired and distracting.
Yeah, the prince is being rather rude. He's not even letting you finish sentences.
It's like an Abbott and Costello routine without a straight man to react to the duo.
Yeah, I think so, just without the comedy.
The other one that the prince keeps just brushing off everything that happens and doesn't ever react properly to anything. He's just kind of...
It's like the Ghibli protagonist.
You have to
that
wonder
was weird.
You have to wonder if maybe since he's so genre savvy, maybe it's because he knows that Elika will save him. I mean, hey, that's how he proved who the real Elika was anyway.
Anyway, in the next part, we tackle at least the first three fertile grounds with the warrior. See ya.
See you then.
Yeah.